Let's get a little weird. Let's get a little odd. Those sounds you like to hear. We got it going on. It's the Oddcast. It's the Oddcast. It's the Oddcast. It's the Oddcast.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Oddcast podcast, where we talk to people who are turning their passion into profession and subsequently their passion into paychecks. We are here at George's at the Cove in La Jolla with Trey Foshee. We're at George's, but we're talking Galaxy Tacos. Trey, how you doing today?
Great, thanks.
Awesome. So again, we're talking Galaxy Tacos. Galaxy is located pretty close to where we are right now. When did it open?
We're hitting our 4-year anniversary in about a month.
Wow, so that's 2015 it opened
Yep.
around?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thanks.
That's awesome. So Galaxy Tacos is kind of, I know you've been in the cooking game, you said, your whole life.
Yeah.
Galaxy Tacos seems like kind of a shift on tacos and fine dining and kind of with the La Jolla vibe, veggie vibe, like very well-sourced ingredients. I don't know exactly how to put...
I like the well-sourced ingredients part. I think that it's not really fine dining. It's a really casual experience. And I think it kind of plays off of what we do here, which is much more fine dining.
Yeah.
And Galaxy was kind of a natural kind of direction for me to go, just because I've always been in, I travel to Mexico a lot. I love the culture. I love the food. I love the people. And I felt like there was... at the time, 4 years ago, there wasn't any place that you could go and get a good, well-prepared meal using good ingredients, and also have a great bar program. You could have one or the other, but there weren't any. There didn't seem like there was any place that was kind of putting the two together. So that was the concept, and then the space kind of opened up, and it's real close to here, so it allows us to go back and forth easily and all that stuff. Yeah,
I definitely noticed that. I mean, from looking at the menu, seeing the menu with the signature cocktails and the tequila and mezcal, it does seem the pairing is very key in what you do there.
Right.
And I think there's something special about tacos and Mexican food in particular that pairs so great with cocktails and mezcal and tequila, obviously.
Right, and I think it's I don't know, we get blasted a little bit for being like gourmet tacos or whatever, but I'm not sure what's gourmet about them. I mean, we grind our own masa every day, just like they do in Mexico, and we get our corn from Mexico. It's a real traditional way of cooking, and the things that we put in the tacos are pretty, chicken and good quality beef and good quality pork, and we fried fish, and it's pretty, it's pretty traditional style tacos. Tacos aren't the only thing we do down there, but it's, the name is Galaxy Tacos, so it's something that we're known for.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a perfect point. To what's the origination of? That's a great name, first of all. What's the origination of the name Galaxy, and what does it kind of mean overall?
I don't know. We were kind of thinking about different names, and I felt like using a Mexican term would be a little disingenuous since I'm not Mexican. So we started thinking about, I don't know, just terms that kind of fit with the style of the restaurant and the image of the restaurant. And when you go to Mexico and you go to the taco stands, there's always something that's kind of humorous about it. There's, if they're doing carnitas, it'll be, a housewife chasing a pig with a pitchfork or a broom or something. Like there's always something that's like the way that things are written on the menu, the way that I don't know, the way that they're presented, there's always some sort of humor involved in it. And I just felt like Galaxy kind of felt right to me, because it's like galaxy and taco. It's like tacos are in the galaxy, and I had all these thoughts about artwork with tacos being the constellations in the galaxy and all this stuff, and I don't know, it just felt right, I guess, and it's it's a little bit funny, and it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, and just kind of fits what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that goes along with the whole, the first thing when you go on your website is you see comer, but it's all about like you said, again, it's the very, very well-sourced ingredients made in a traditional way, but, kind of with a little extra twist that you put on yourself, and then the pairing kind of that, takes it to that next level.
Right. And I mean, it's one of the challenges too, I think, with the restaurant is that when you're, I'm a chef that's coming out of a pretty fine dining establishment, and when you go and open a casual Mexican restaurant, there's a lot of assumptions that are made, both that maybe I'm going to do something that's super highbrow, or something that is kind of, taking it and putting it at a different level.
Oh, that's because you come from a fine dining background. It automatically,
it's kind of
it's
a
a
lot
label.
of people. Yeah, exactly. And it is what it is. But I think we're going to use good quality ingredients, because I think that's important.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like in the end of the day too, the ingredients, like you said, it's very important to you that the ingredients relate back to like the taco and Mexican food's roots in Mexico.
Exactly.
I mean, so that's inherently, kind of the anti-fine dining is going back to the roots and not kind of doing a crazy spin on it. You especially in this day and age where fine dining is all kind of doing a crazy spin on something.
Right. Couldn't have said it better.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think there's definitely, obviously, you have the Mexico influence. How does this is, I guess, an overarching question kind of for you in your whole career, which would include, of course, George's and then stuff prior to that. How does San Diego influence you as a chef and also as someone who is adept at developing new restaurants?
I mean, that's a perfect question, because it really goes to the very beginning of why we started Galaxy in the first place. So we do a tasting menu here in California Modern called Table 3, and it's one table a night. It's 14 to 16 courses. It changes constantly. It's never the same dishes. And when we started the concept, which was probably 8 years ago or so,
Wow.
We basically looked around and said, look at all these restaurants that are getting all this notoriety for having very small restaurants, very counter seating only, and you have to make your reservation a month in advance, and you got to jump through all these hoops to have this experience. And we've never been that kind of a restaurant. We have the upstairs, which is very casual. We have down here, but we knew that we had the ability to execute at that same level. And so that's what Table 3 is kind of an exploration of, and we're still doing Table 3s. So when we started talking about Table 3, we thought, well, what are the dishes? We want it to be an experience that's unique to San Diego. We don't want it to be a meal that you could have in San Francisco or Chicago or New York or LA even. That it needs to speak to where we are.
That's awesome.
So that means using obviously local ingredients, but also the culture of what's San Diego. And so tacos obviously came up, and fish tacos in particular. So we decided, the question was, do we need to include a fish taco in this fancy tasting menu? And we said yes. So then, is it a reinterpretation of a fish taco, or is it a classic fish taco? And we went the classic way. So that started the whole masa program. So we started saying, well, how do we make a fish taco that's better than anything else out there, and something that can be elevated to a tasting menu format? It has to start with the tortilla, because the tortilla is the vehicle for the, it's like making a sandwich with bad bread. It's not going to be a good sandwich no matter what you put in it. So you start with the bread, you start with the tortilla, and that kind of took us down the path of grinding our own masa.
I see.
We started looking at local tortillas, getting masa, trying masa, learning about the process. And Christine was working with me in the kitchen here, Christine Rivera, who's the chef at Galaxy. And she and I worked together to develop this kind of masa program. And then once we opened Galaxy, we were able to afford a real grinder and all the equipment that you really need to make your own masa. So to go back to your question, how does San Diego influence all that? That's kind of the beginning of the whole process is, and especially in California Modern here, that's what we ask ourselves. Is it something that fits the San Diego theme as we see it? And our interpretation of that, which is really a lifestyle, right?
Yes.
Like when you think of San Diego, it's about lifestyle. It's about outdoor living. It's about healthy living, being close to the ocean, all that stuff. and how do we translate that into a food message?
Wow, that's to a layman in the food industry. To a layman, it's interesting that a question, how does San Diego influence you, can be interpreted in such a deep way, and the same thing with asking about Galaxy. It shows that you have been in the industry for a while, and that you have an idea and it starts clicking, and then the things start coming together. And I mean, I'm sure that having a place like Table 3, it was called, it's almost like a place where you can develop potential new ideas, and it's probably very nice to have that other creative outlet.
Yeah. And it's nice to actually, to be honest, not to have to do it every day.
Yeah.
Because when you get structured, because we have a tasting menu that's part of our regular menu, and if you only have that and you only have the a la carte menu, everything becomes a little bit routine.
Yeah.
And then you look at it and you're like, I'm kind of tired of that. I need to change it. Table 3 challenges us whenever it's booked to come up with something new, and to fit within the guidelines of what we've built, but that's using the best product that's available right now. And that's where it all starts. Like, okay, we have a Table 3 next week. What does Chino Farms have? What does Specialty Produce have? What fish is great right now? Put all those things in a pile, and then that's where the menu comes from. So as that develops, then that influences our regular menu here.
Yeah, I see.
But also with 14 courses, you're able to do smaller portions that don't really fit in an a la carte way. You don't have to look at it and say, well, it's not big enough for an appetizer, it's not big enough for an entree. It works as a 3 or 4 bite course.
Yeah.
And some dishes are best like that.
Yeah.
But it also, like I said, it influences the tasting menu that's available every night, and that also influences the regular a la carte menu.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've seen a similar thing with there are a couple breweries that I've spoken to where they have expanded, and then now they have a production brewery, and they use kind of their original brewery as to do small batch or to endeavor into creative. Right,
to play.
Yeah, so it seems that that's inherently a good way to run a creative business. I mean, it seems to be. So, I have to ask, what is it like, the tortillas from scratch? I know we've spoken about it, but I want to ask kind of specifically how that works as someone who doesn't really understand that, because that seems to be, a driving force, like you said, the vehicle behind tacos, and as such, the vehicle behind Galaxy in the end of the day, or the tacos there. Like you said, there's a lot of other great stuff on the menu.
Well, from a business perspective, it doesn't make any sense to make your own tortillas, first of all. It's much less expensive to purchase tortillas from a tortilleria.
Really?
But a lot of that corn that they're using is, and I'm not on one side of the fence or the other of GMO, but it's all GMO commodity corn that's basically grown in the U.S. Most of the tortillas, even that you get in TJ, most of that corn is grown in the U.S.
Wow.
And so the corn, for the most part, is raised as animal feed, right? I mean, that's commodity corn.
Yep.
So it's not necessarily raised for flavor, and so you start with sourcing of the corn, and where does that corn come from? And we're lucky enough to have a relationship with a company called Macienda, who started a company really importing good quality heirloom varieties of corn from states in Mexico, Michoacan and Oaxaca, that are growing corn the old way, where he's going down there and he's able to support farmers that didn't really have a market for their corn other than just the local community.
Wow.
And so they would grow like a small lot of this corn, and then the rest of their planting would be sort of commodity corn.
Okay.
Because that's what was the easiest to sell.
Yeah.
And so he went down there and said, hey, I'll pay you a little bit more for your corn, but just keep growing this stuff because this is the really good stuff.
And is commodity, sorry to interrupt, is commodity corn also easier to grow?
That's a good question. I think it generates more volume.
Okay, okay. So it just okay, I see.
So and not everybody likes blue corn. That we still have people come in and wonder what we're serving.
Huh.
But the support that he gives those farmers and then brings the corn across, We started with him right when he first started, and that's where we get the corn from. So the corn that we get is actually from, Oaxaca and Michoacan. It comes up. We cook it the night before. It soaks overnight. And then the next day we've got a crew of ladies in there that drain it, rinse it, grind it, mix it, portion it, form it, and cook it. That's the process.
Wow, that sounds like a techno song. Drain it,
Yeah.
mix it, grind it. That's pretty awesome though, and
Yeah.
I mean it's a ton of hard work for something that I think sometimes people overlook.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that shows the dedication to the craft right there.
Yeah, and there's two items that people look at differently and the same, right? And that's bread and rice, I would say. So bread, everybody in this day and age, people are getting used to having great bread in your supermarket.
Yeah.
And the difference between a local bakery that's doing a really good job and a commodity big production bakery, and what that means to the bread, right?
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with rice in a sushi place. So a lot of depends on who you ask, but at least 50%, if not more, of your sushi experience is rice, right?
Oh yeah.
And so you can have great quality rice, or you can have kind of mediocre quality rice, and it's the same thing. When you go to a really top-end sushi place, they're spending so much time and so much effort sourcing the rice, preparing the rice properly. And for us, tortillas are the same way.
So for you, tortillas are the rice of the
Absolutely.
rice is tortillas or tortillas to taco as rice is to sushi.
And the value equation associated with that, I would challenge people on too, because we get comments that our tacos are too expensive. Yet you're going to go out tonight and have a piece of sushi that they're going to charge you $8 for, and it's a sliver of fish and a little ball of rice.
Yeah.
And you're okay with that.
Yeah.
But you're not okay paying $5 for a taco that has,
wow,
3 or 4 or 5 times more protein, and the tortillas are actually cooked and made in house. I think there's an equation there that people don't get, and it's partly, I think, all of our relationship with Mexican food, right? I mean, the taco truck, the taco stand, although they're delicious and they're awesome, and I love them, it's not the same as when you're cooking your masa from scratch and your tortillas are served on a china plate, not a paper plate.
Yeah.
And there's a server there to bring you a margarita.
Mm-hmm.
It's a different experience.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's like you said that I think it's a weird preconceived notion of, like you said, the rice ball and the sliver of fish and maybe a tiny bit of seaweed. The one thing I was thinking too when you were saying that is ramen places which are very popular right now. The noodles are the driving force, and the really good places sometimes shut down for a couple of days of the week to prep noodles for the rest of the days.
Right.
I've definitely seen that.
Another good analogy.
Yeah. So I definitely wanted to ask, because we touched on it briefly, but when it comes to the pairing with the drinks, how do you guys, as a layman, I keep dogging on myself, but I am a layman in this field. How do you go about pairing, and then what kind of are some of the interesting drinks and stuff that you guys do over at Galaxy?
Well,
and what's your favorite?
My favorite is just a classic margarita. But I think there's different levels of pairing, right? And here in California Modern for table 3, for example, if somebody orders the beverage pairing for that, each course is tasted. We think about what's the right wine, what's the right beverage, because sometimes it's not just wine that pairs well with that. At Galaxy, it's really, it's a very casual restaurant. People come in and have a taco and a beer. People come in and just sit at the bar and have a couple margaritas. People come in and have, an appetizer and an entree and a dessert. You can kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And the bar program over there is really based on mezcal and tequila.
Yeah.
We sell a lot more tequila than mezcal, which
interesting
is another long story, but I'm comfortable with that. And I think, for us, a margarita is very simple. It's good quality tequila. It's fresh lime juice that's squeezed daily. and we use agave syrup over there to sweeten it, and ice. So it's like anything. Some things get overly complicated, and they also get shortened. Where you're oh, we don't want to. Limes are expensive, and the labor to juice them every day in the volume that a restaurant like that uses is expensive.
Oh yeah.
But it makes all the difference in the world. And even from one day to the next, we don't use the lime juice the next day, because lime juice tends to get bitter the longer it sits. And so the next day you can definitely taste the difference between a margarita that was made with lime juice from yesterday to today.
Really?
And if I didn't feel that was important, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But it is important. And especially when you're dealing with 3 ingredients, they all have to be good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, whether you want a beer, whether you want to, we've got a whole slew of cocktails over there that are all delicious. We have some spicy ones. We have some more fruit forward ones, and it really just depends on what you're into.
Yeah, and then I know you guys also do like events where you do like mezcal tastings, tequila tastings.
We do the first Friday of every month. We have we kind of showcase one brand or one tequila or mezcal, and they come in and they do a tasting from usually 5 to 8 the first Friday of every month. There's a representative there. They pour little tastes for you. They discuss it. They talk to you about it. So if you're interested in mezcal, or you don't know anything about mezcal but you want to learn about mezcal, you can check out our Facebook page. They're usually up on the Facebook page in the events section. And then we run a cocktail special that's made with whatever that spirit is for the month.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know you guys also have Taco Wars coming up too.
And we do we did taco takeovers for 3 years. Every Tuesday, we had a chef come in, and they would prepare 3 tacos, and it was super successful for the first 2 years, and then we just started running out of chefs. We basically had everybody in San Diego doing it. Even people that weren't chefs. We had a professional baseball player do it. We had an actress come in and do tacos, because everybody. Tacos are cool because they're universal. Everybody likes them, and everybody has something that they make at home.
There's Galaxy Tacos universal.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
That's when you see them say the name of the movie, and you're like,
got it.
Galaxy Tacos are universal. So that's awesome.
So this year we started Taco Wars, which was Christine's idea. It's basically matching 2 chefs. Most of them have done taco takeovers before, and so they come in, they each prepare 1 taco, and then there's a voting that happens from the guests, and then the winner, there'll be 3 kind of prelim matches. We just had our second one yesterday, actually. So we'll have 1 more, and then the 3 winners of those will compete against each other in kind of a final round.
Wow.
And then a percentage of the proceeds of that night will go to the winner's charity of choice.
Awesome. That's always great. I mean, time and time again, I feel like San Diego, whether it's artists, breweries, athletes, restaurants, I've seen San Diego have this like innate ability to give back to awesome causes always. So that's great.
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to ask you, I know you guys have some awesome stuff on the menu. I got to ask, what are some of your favorites on the menu that, some of the listeners or viewers, you could entice their taste buds with?
Well, the ones that are the most popular at the restaurant are obviously the kind of the Baja fried fish taco. Super popular. We do a grilled octopus tostada.
Wow.
Which is served with some cherry tomatoes and a burnt habanero salsa on top. A puree of black beans underneath. It's super popular. We do a tayuda, which you don't see very often. It's basically like a big Mexican pizza. It's like a big tortilla shell with a bunch of different ingredients, and served kind of so that you kind of tear it apart and eat it like a pizza.
Awesome.
What else? For entrees, the pork shoulder, we do a braised pork shoulder that's pretty crazy popular, and then the trout dish, which has just a whole legion of people that just come in for the trout.
That's awesome. So, I mean, it sounds like, you have, people who come back and then people who hear about it and want to try it. I mean, I've seen, you guys have, been in like the UT and, all Zagat and, everything up, which is pretty awesome. And the one that interests me is the lengua. Is that lengua is tongue, correct?
Correct.
That's awesome. So the lengua taco is I was hearing that was pretty popular too.
Yeah, and we do a lengua hash also for brunch.
Oh,
So,
and that's on the brunch menu.
yeah, so I we don't sell a lot of tongue, to be honest with you. I don't know
Really?
why. I don't know why people have an aversion to it, but the people that order it are, I probably grew up eating tongue, in some form, but it's something that we just keep on because we all love it, and I can't imagine being having tacos and not having a tongue taco on the menu.
Yeah, yeah. So that'll be on every spot in Mexico. We'll have an option for a lengua.
You see tongue a lot in Mexico, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I wouldn't say every place has it. Some places kind of specialize in certain
Yeah.
types of tacos, but tongue is widely eaten in Mexico and a lot of other countries too, and it's no different than any other mussel.
Oh yeah, completely. I mean, my familiarity with tongue usually comes from either Japanese or Korean barbecue, where it's like thinly sliced. But
Yeah.
I mean, I eat that by the boatload when I go there because it's some of the most delicious meat
Yeah.
there is. I mean,
Yeah.
very, very tasteful.
And Basque cuisine uses tongue a lot. There's a lot of cultures that use tongue, and I don't know. I wish we would use it more in the States.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we've already run the gamut on a lot of good stuff. I definitely there's a few more. You guys have also a lot of veggie options. I know it's not really a veggie place, but whether it's the what is it, the avocado,
Yeah.
or I know there's other stuff elsewhere on the menu, but
Yeah.
what's the is there the squash, I believe, is the other one.
There's a few.
Yeah.
The tortillas right now are vegetarian.
Yeah.
The tamal can be made vegetarian.
Is that important for you always to have the
Yeah.
good and a variety of veggie options?
At George's as well as Galaxy, I think it's part of the culture. I think it's the way, whether you're a full blown vegetarian or not. I think if you ask a lot of people, they'll tell you I don't know. This is a bunch of years ago, but we had a dinner party at my house, and one of the guests, I had to make something vegetarian for him because they said they were vegetarian, and when they got to the house, they actually were eating the other food too, and I was like, hey, I thought you guys said you're a vegetarian. They said, well, we just say that because we want to eat healthy, and we don't want to we'd rather say that we're vegetarian and then snack on stuff rather than have a big piece of meat or something like that. And I thought, well, that makes sense. I mean, I think that probably a lot of the people that come to restaurants say the same thing.
Yeah.
You go out to dinner and you think that it's this calorie overload and that it's not healthy, and so I think vegetable forward. Plus, we live, San Diego County has the largest amount of small family farms in the United States.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. Wow, that is a little known fact apparently for whatever reason. I mean, so there's a lot of good high quality produce out there.
Yeah, I mean, San Diego's full of incredible product, and so if going back to table 3, if our vision is to have something that's unique and that speaks to San Diego, then it kind of starts with what grows in San Diego. Yeah.
I mean, and like you said, I think it's awesome that it's like a combination of Galaxy. It's a combination of, we keep reiterating, but the driving force being the taco shell, but then also the ingredients from San Diego kind of going on top. One of our interviews was with the folks from Apex Wild Seafood. So yeah, they're pretty awesome. I love what they have going on down there. But yeah, I guess, the final thing, we've gone about, 28 minutes on here. So it's been a pretty awesome interview. I really appreciate your time, Trey. I definitely wanted to give you an opportunity to tell everyone, where they can find you guys, any upcoming events you have going on, any kind of, shout outs you want to give to any of the, chefs or partners along the way. So yeah.
Well, I think Christine Rivera and Amy Grave, Amy's the GM at Galaxy and Christine's in the kitchen. Those two really run the restaurant day in and day out. We're in La Jolla Shores. We're on Avenida de la Playa. Pretty easy to find, and actually very easy to get to. La Jolla has a bad reputation for getting in and out of, but La Jolla Shores is really easy.
Oh yeah, you kind of just coast on Prospect and you're there.
Actually, it's even before you get to Prospect. It's
oh really?
Yeah. It's you just come down the hill and it's right there.
Okay.
So, and then George's. We're on Prospect. 3 levels overlooking the ocean. You know,
Yeah.
we've been here a long time. Most people know who we are. But as far as events coming up, just check our Facebook page. We don't really have too much set up at George's. Galaxy, we have the Taco Wars, which I think our next one is in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Next week or
Yeah, and
in
this
2
one will
weeks?
come out, I think, right before this episode will come out right before. So this will come out
great.
next Saturday. So Taco Wars will be, we'll have a perfect, little teaser for Taco Wars
Cool.
to put in there.
Cool. And then don't forget the first Friday of every month we do the mezcal tequila tasting.
Yeah, awesome. And then, the final question, of course, we always ask is the theme of the show. Any advice out there for any listeners or viewers who, want to step off that quote unquote metaphorical ledge to turn their passion into a paycheck?
I think you just have to follow your heart. I mean, I fell into the restaurant business because, I think the way a lot of people fall into the restaurant business, you kind of just, you're nothing else seems right. You kind of use it as a backup plan. Like, oh, I'll just go get a job as a waiter, or I'll go get a job as a cook. And that's kind of how I started. And then I just built it from there. So I think, you can, if you follow that path, and you work really hard, at least in the restaurant business, it requires a lot of work, a lot of hard work and commitment. It'll take you wherever you want to go.
Yeah. So you did start, originally you started on the line cooking.
Oh, yeah. Started as a dishwasher.
Wow.
My first job was a busboy.
And then it was, like you said, a kind of a plan B that turned into, hey, okay, I can grow within this, and kind of eventually realizing you loved it. Yeah.
And I tried to go to college, and nothing felt right. It just didn't seem like anything clicked, and I'm the kind of person that if I'm not interested in it, I really have a hard time learning it.
Yeah.
I can't just memorize stuff. So I always struggled with that stuff. I was a good student when I was really interested in the subject.
Of course.
If I wasn't interested in it, I just couldn't get it, couldn't do it. And so, I'm a surfer, and I grew up surfing. So I kind of was like, well, I'll just surf and cook. And and then one thing led to another.
Wow. And now you have a beautiful spot overlooking, a great surfing location. So,
Right.
That's a true.
It all works out.
It all works out. I mean, I think, if you work hard and you're good to people, and also, you never stop learning. Like you
Right.
said, with Table 3, I think that's the perfect exemplification of, not being, too big for yourself, where you're like, oh, okay, we'll open another spot where I can continue to experiment.
Right.
I don't have to do it every day, but.
Super important.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Trey, thank you so much for your
Yep.
time. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate talking to you. And folks, I appreciate you guys listening and watching to the ODDCAST podcast, where we talk to people who are turning their passion into profession and subsequently their passion into paychecks. Thank you so much, and we appreciate you all.
Let's get a little weird. Let's get a little odd. Those sounds you like to hear. We got it going on. It's the ODDCAST. It's the ODDCAST. It's the ODDCAST. It's the ODDCAST.